Hi, I'm Max. I'm from Melbourne and been using Joomla for quite a long time. And I've been building websites for 20 years this year. My main background is in logistics and IT and that type of stuff. And I specialise more in marketing and getting money for clients through their websites as opposed to concentrating too much on the technical side of the website itself. Which is why I'm not talking about the technical stuff. The main difference with me is that I've actually had businesses running e-commerce. Businesses running e-commerce and marketing and so forth for myself and for my family and so forth. So I've been on the other side of the coin, as in not just developing websites, but actually being the client and so forth. For ourselves, so we've seen the effects of whether websites are designed well and whether your marketing's working well and what it actually is directly on the people as opposed to just what it is in the analytics. So we take a pretty hot interest in making sure that people are successful, and we've had good things and we've also been very, very painful and had lots of bad things as well. I'm going to be covering responsive marketing, and really it's a lot like other people. It's the same basic thing, but I had to put responsive in the name, so it's all good. Okay, and so the first thing about responsive marketing is the same thing it is in responsive design, is that it's reacting to something that's happening. And the idea behind responsive marketing is that people are out there talking about your brand, your products, and also about your competitors and so forth. And it's up to you to be able to manage and engage with those people that are out there in that market. And the internet allows us to do that quite directly. And the places that we get that type of thing happening is across, social media, everything that people are doing online, forums, news, all of that type of stuff. And if you're not out there sort of listening to it and paying attention to it, it can go rife and you end up in a lot of trouble. And really the end product is that you get money. Okay, if you run it properly and you do it properly, you'll get money at the end of the day. If you're not doing it and you're not being reactive and responsive to your target market and what people are doing out there, you're going to get a damaged brand and you're not going to be able to get the return on investment you're supposed to have for the amount of money and time and effort and resources and so forth you put in. The next thing is what, and exactly what it is. And what responsive marketing does, it allows you to react in almost real time to what's happening out in the marketplace and what's happening on your website and what's happening in your marketing efforts across whether it's pay-per-click, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and your newsletters and so forth. And again, it covers off all of those things wherever you've got a touch point with a client where you can build that relationship and nurture the relationship, and being able to actively monitor against that. And one of the big drivers that's sort of driven that in the last couple of years or so is a big push towards inbound marketing and managing your relationships and so forth with your clients directly. And the important thing is having a two-way conversation with your market, because if you're not having a two-way conversation with your market, someone else is, and they'll take your trade away from you. And the big thing is how. One of the really, really important things with any type of marketing and so forth, particularly with marketing in the modern age, is making sure that you discover and monitor where your market is and setting yourself KPIs and what you expect to have as a return on investment. You've got to have your realistic and measurable goals, and you have to gather the right data. And that's where a lot of it comes down to when you're monitoring and so forth, is working out where your market is and monitoring that and getting the feedback for it so that you can actually then build those leads and nurture them. And as always, it must be actionable and relevant. There's no point going out and monitoring stuff and getting data on things unless you can actually do something with it. And it has to be relevant in that it's actually going to return something on the bottom line. Because really, if it's not measurable and you don't know how you're performing, it's not worth doing it. There's a lot of free and paid tools out there. I've just mentioned a couple of them on here. which are fairly widely used for doing this type of thing. Your social monitoring and so forth, you've got Hootsuite that you can come in a free package that allows you to monitor some stuff and actually put search terms in, so you can monitor on specific feeds of information depending on the dimensions of key terms and keyword terms and so forth, and also your general feed for any accounts that you have specifically. There's Social Mention, which is a web app that you can go in and actually searches a lot broader than just your social media feeds. So it does stuff across the web on forums and websites and so forth. You've got Google Analytics, which if you're not using on your website to see what's working and not working on your website, you should go out and get it. There's actual on-page conversion optimization tools like Crazy Egg that actually show you where people are clicking on the page and what bits are working and not working. There's stuff that goes out and measures what's in your email campaigns and so forth as well, so you can see what people are actually clicking on, right down to inside the email clients, what they're looking at on the screen and clicking on through there. So there's a lot of tracking that you can do and optimization you can do across everything. And of course the most important thing under that, again, as from my previous screen, is you've got to do the planning up the front so that you know what you're actually going to be trying to optimize and what you're expecting to get for your return. And again, goes back to what inbound marketing is and making sure you've got that two-way conversation with clients and getting the feedback for that. We have a lot of different tools, other tools, right down to basic spreadsheet type things where you can work out what you're expecting for return on investment, where you can engage with people and the stages through your sales process, all of this time where you're getting the data coming back from these things is measuring against that return on investment and the reiterations of that type of stuff. And then you've got other things that give you like complete marketing platforms where you get, obviously not free generally, where you're actually covering off data across a whole range of areas through social media, analytics, pay-per-click, and a few other mediums that allow you to get data that Google Analytics no longer provides. And that's me. I had a 15-minute presentation and it was late and I finished on time. And a lot of it is that there's probably 50 to 100 platforms out there that you can go out to find a monitoring solution that's going to work for you, and it's getting that so that it's specific to your target market, and finding out what those things are that are actually going to be great for your business. Is if you do look at places like the Content Marketing Institute and HubSpot and Marketing Land and all those places, there's a heap of resources on there that will have lists of these are 40 tools that you can have for Google+, these are 30 tools that are great for Twitter. There's no point in putting them, sticking them all up here because you won't remember them. But if you look at these places that I've got listed here on this screen, you'll go in, there's a lot of downloadable resources and other bits and pieces there so that you can do it. But the really important thing that you should get out of it is that it's a two-way conversation, and that if you are doing the monitoring in real time, you will actually then be able to respond back and you'll get more leads and more clients and so forth as you go through. Questions?
Questions? Anyone first? Do you have any pricing? Yeah.
No, it's not right.
That's better. Yeah.
So you talk about doing two-way communication in order to get your return on investments.
Yeah.
But given the time that you spend to do that marketing, how much time after that do you need to do in order to convince the person, either between like when they first contact you or not, to get that actual return on investment after your marketing and everything's done?
Well, one of the essential parts with that type of thing is working out what your cost per lead is and your cost per acquisition is, sort of at the start of your planning and so forth, and working out the different stages of the buying cycle that the visitors that come into your website or social media or you know, any of your contact points, and where that stage of their relationship is with you. And you'll find that you'll only have 10% of people that come into your website, for example, that are actually ready to make a direct contact and a direct connection with you at that point in time. So what you're really trying to do is start that tracking of that person at that point in time, whether they're logged into Google or whether they're logged into Facebook, and where they're going off and doing other things. If you can get them to follow you on, you know, those social channels, or if you've got a specialist product and there's user forums online that are based around that, whether it's fashion products or weddings or what it is, you can actually set up monitors that'll monitor those places as well. So once you've got a profile in there, you start answering people's questions, not trying to sell them, just you know, trying to be helpful and educate them in those places. Then you'll end up you know, starting to pull them in on a second round or a second cycle going through, and also through remarketing and display network and other places like that as well. And then you can keep building that relationship through that way, even if you haven't got that direct contact there. So, so really what it is that cost per acquisition or cost per lead, and what it's going to cost you in time and effort to do those things. And directly cost per click or display network, you can see it because it's a dollar figure. Every time someone clicks it, it goes cha-ching and money comes out of your account. Whereas the other things are time-based and resource-based, so it's the amount of time that someone's going to be doing that and what their cost is. And the only way you can actually really measure that, or you know, see whether that's a viable way of doing something, is having those KPIs and those measurements in place, so that you can say, well, this person's spending 4 hours on this person's spending 6 hours on this, and that's what that cost is, and what does that then come in as money at the end of the day, because it comes into, if it doesn't turn into money, it's useless. Might make you feel good, but it has to be money at the end of the day. Yeah.
With the animal that is SEO,
Yeah.
would you recommend outsourcing to outside companies, or would you recommend trying to do as much as possible in-house? What are your views on that? Because I keep getting asked by clients all the time. We've had a phone call today, and we've had 4 last week about this SEO company that want to do all of this for us.
Yeah.
Why aren't you offering us the same service?
From our point of view and the services we provide with clients, we have software that goes in and analyses the actual content on the particular website, and it does it for basic SEO measurements. You know, like it's got, you know, title tags and alt tags on your pictures, and the load time's okay. So like, you know, you've got, you know, your basic old school on-site SEO type stuff. And so we just run those reports off, and we have a self-service sort of thing for the clients to go in, so they can go in and see which bits are bad and so forth and which bits are good. Now, if they want to spend the time to go and correct that type of stuff, fine, that's okay. Or they can give it to someone else, because that's you know, it's not something that requires a business owner with particular product knowledge, because it's more technical on the, you know, on the on-site type of stuff. But when it comes to content writing and blog writing and in answering people's inquiries in social media and forums and news sites, and, you know, just stuff like your Google Plus business page and stuff like that, the amount of businesses that don't even monitor those things, and they've got all these crap comments with no responses. I mean, it's got to be hurting them, and so, but the thing is, like, you can't really get outsourced people to do all of that, because they don't know the particular product or the particular business. They don't know quite as well the brand values. The only time you can really outsource it is if you're outsourcing on, you know, a more than a 0.5 type basis for a person. You know, so they have to have a resource that's working, you know, a particular time dedicated to their brand that gets to know their product. But what I normally say to clients is that a minimum of 2/3 should probably be in-house or people with specific product knowledge and brand knowledge. And then if they haven't got time to do the other stuff, you know, the other third or so.
So it's about educating the users to do some of the edits themselves rather than getting the outside part to do it.
Well, I
you
think
should recommend, or
well, I generally recommend a mix depending on how busy the people are. People often will say to me, "Oh no, we'll do that all in house, not a problem." And then you go in and you monitor it, and you're saying, "Well, no one's replying to these things. These people have got queries on that. You know, this was your publishing schedule or your content schedule that you're supposed to be doing on your blog or whatever else it is, and they don't do it." And so the only thing you can really go back to them and sort of like say, "Well, you're not keeping up with your schedule. This is our agreed performance and our agreed content that was supposed to go out and so forth." And so they can't expect to have, you know, the return on investment that, you know, they would have, that we agreed at the start, because they're not putting the work in along the way to be able to get that return on their money, because they're not actually engaging with it. And so that type of thing, we can take over more of it, but still it has to be most of the time people with, you know, getting, you know, allocated to that account for that client, and that's what they do.
Next, a question. You talked about engaging people.
Yeah.
Helping them and you know, bringing traffic through that venue. How do you go about measuring it? My question is, yeah, what tools would you use? How long does it take to measure it? And how do you go about measuring it?
Well, yeah, like I was saying, there's a number of different tools. So something like Hootsuite, which is very widely used, and has an app that goes on your phone and on your computer and everything like that. You've got obviously feeds that are for your direct accounts that you own, but then you've also got you can put in search strings that are across other people's accounts and so forth. So it's the same thing as like your JDS 13. If you put that in, that would bring up every tweet that's on that. But the thing is, what you're doing, instead of having JDS 13, you're doing it for your brand name, for your products, and for our clients, we generally say we do it for their competitors and all of their competitors' products as well, because as soon as people are talking about these other things, well, it'd be nice to go and talk to their clients about why you're better. Or little hints along that way. And that covers off like you know, most of the social media stuff, but then you've also got other tools, like I was saying beforehand, like, you know, social mention, a whole heap of other things that allow you to actually actively monitor RSS feeds and other websites and so forth to get that back on those same sort of terms.
I saw a really good example of that with crazy domains. So people were complaining about crazy domains hosting support and domain name services. So another hosting company would jump on and respond to their complaint, and they'd go, "Oh, this is fantastic, I'll transfer you guys."
Yeah.
But in crazy domain, you never ever respond to any of their social media responses.
Yeah, but I mean that's just the type of thing that, you know, everybody can do, and there's free tools out there, there's paid ones as well, and so all you have to do is, you know, look at what comes in on the feed and go from there.
Any more questions? Thank you, Max. We wanted outro music.